Welcome to the Andrew D'Angelo podcast.
Constant Constance. Each week, Andrew, renowned jazz saxophonist and brain cancer survivor, invites us to look at the many worlds of his guests, with conversations that cover all the arts, human resilience, a little bit of politics, and a lot of humour.
You can't fail to have a fantastic time.
Everybody, are you ready to illuminate? I'm here today with my dear friend and longtime colleague, Mr. Eric Revis, a veteran bassist and composer, which is a quote I grabbed off the internet, and I knew that would piss you off, so I wanted to say it. Like, veteran just means you're an old fucker, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole business.
Andrew D'Angelo, and veteran saxophonist. Yeah, right. You just mean I'm old. Okay, I get it, right.
Well, you know, shit. At some point in time, you just have to own up to it, man.
I know. I'm cool. I'm cool. I'm cool until I look in the mirror, but I'm cool otherwise. But right. Anyway, Eric and I have had some of the most fun tours and shows that I've ever done in my life. I mean, we went on this epic tour of Europe with guitarist Kurt Rosenwinkel and drummer Nishit Waits, and that was it, right?
Probably books could be written. Well, we did a week at the Vanguard.
Yeah, Village Vanguard, right? And then
did we do that prior to the European tour? I think we did.
I don't know. I don't remember. That's a great question. I don't remember, know.
Man. Yeah.
Who's interviewing who here? I don't know. But I think we did the Vanguard to warm up for the tour. But the thing is that the tour was just, I just remember laughing with you and Nishit and Kurt and just having so much fun. And I find you, Eric, I can't call you Eric. I find you, Revis, to be this, even though you've yelled at me on stage, by the way, which is fine, but you are one of the most uplifting and positive and just incredibly like this strong positive force musically, at least that I know. And
well, thank you, man. And I can say the same about you. I really can.
I'm an asshole. Come on.
Not at all, man. You know what? I'll tell you. So there was a time when I was coming back to New York and I was staying with what was it? Remember, I used to go and hang out with Bill McHenry.
Right.
And he was like, yo, man, I got somebody. He was running kind of shade bill. So he had somebody in a room and he's like, but Andrew, I guess the guy or the person that was staying there had left, or you had a place available, a spot available. So I called you up and you're like, yo, man, come. I was going to be in New York for a week or so. And stayed at your crib, man. Waking up to you shedding, man, was amazing. I mean, it's one of the best musical memories I have, man. It was just like,
so
man,
sweet.
You would be playing the shit, and I would just be like, damn, man. And it was just endless. I was like, wow, that is so killing. It was like, is that? Oh no, man, I'm just practicing. Like, wow. Yeah.
Well, you're too kind. I didn't expect that. But weren't you here? And thank you, dude. That was really nice. I could use that because it's been a little hard to get motivated during this whole Corona virus thing.
Right? Tell me about it, man. Shit.
Yeah,
it's fucked up.
But Eric, when you came and you stayed at my house, were you recording Slipknots through a looking glass? Was that the record you were doing at that time?
No. Was I doing a record? Man, this would have to be like, oh man, no. You know what? It's like, because, well, you're not getting old. I'm getting old, man. I can't, like, the chronology of it. It's like there may have been a record, but it would be early on. It may have been like one of the trio records at that point, or it wasn't for this one, because that was years ago, man. That was like 10 years ago, maybe. I'm assuming. I don't know. The fact that time is passing me by at a clip.
Yeah, 10 years ago was March 2020. But here's the reason I ask, okay? Before we talk about your highly celebrated and beautiful record, Slipknots Through a Looking Glass, what I remember is that you came to New York, and you and Bill McHenry, I think, were staying at my house. And so here's the story I'm trying to work out. Excuse me. And you were in the studio, you recorded a record, and you were not happy with the recording. And I don't know, 6 months later, excuse me.
Yeah.
And maybe a year later, you went back in the studio and re-recorded something. Now, I do not recall the exact details because I wasn't hired for the session, so whatever. But I just was wondering, like, if you remember doing something as far as making a record and thinking, we didn't get it. I got to make that record over again. Does that sound right, or am I incorrect in my?
That could be that. I mean, that has happened several times with, actually. I mean, and it's basically just my own, uber self-consciousness at times. It's like you go through the process of writing shit, getting things together, arranging it, blah blah blah, getting the cast together, hopefully rehearsing some, and then when it happens, I think that there was up until maybe the last couple records, it's you have this kind of self misnomer thing going on where you're in control of things, or if they don't meet what your preconceived notions of how they're supposed to come out doesn't happen. It's like, fuck it. It's horrible. It's like, I didn't develop that like, let me stand back and listen for a while. Or the other thing that was even more important is allowing these organisms that you help bring into the world, compositions, that they have their own identity, and to impose, I mean, you may have helped facilitate them coming about, but they have their own identity, and to let them be their own thing. So it probably was a situation where I was like, man, fuck it, we got to do this again. With Slipknots in particular, we had some technical issues that had to be addressed.
In the studio, or what do you mean?
Yeah. It was in the studio. We had some things, we couldn't, had to do with certain frequencies that were bouncing around and stuff. And we tried to get them out. And Dave Stoller worked with us, immensely or, greatly on it to try to resolve the problem. And when it couldn't be resolved, at that point, Chris had started her label, and she said, well, hey, you want to put it out on my label? It's like, yeah, that would be great.
Chris Davis or?
Chris Davis, yeah.
Okay. Just making sure. That's all.
Oh, they brought in Ron St. Germain, who recorded and mixed and engineered it. So, that's how that came about. Damn, I went down a rabbit hole right there, real quick.
Right. Again, extract moment. One of the things that I'm doing my best to accomplish with this show is that one of the comments about you specifically when I asked on social media across all the platforms, if anybody had questions, somebody said they felt like your music was underappreciated or your recordings. And I think that a lot of us in this world of jazz or improvised music, whatever we want to label it, we walk down this real niche path. So people just don't know, right? They don't know who we are. We throw around names, we throw down chord changes, and, we talk about things about the music that only a musician would know. And so I want people to understand the vibrance and the beauty, and not that that other thing can't be beautiful, but who's Chris Davis? Chris Davis, by the way, Nate Chinnan, who is an amazing writer and journalist, was talking about Slipknot's, your record, and how incredible the hookup was with Chris Davis. And that, I have to admit, that wasn't something I noticed when I listened to it. I re-listened to it recently, obviously to prepare for you, but I was a little obsessed with you and Bill McHenry and Darius Jones, playing together. I don't know why, maybe because I'm a saxophonist. So I'm going to go back, because Nate Chinnan only messaged me today. He goes, can you just tell Eric that I love that album and I love his hookup with Chris Davis. And by the way, Nate, I don't think you can say hookup with a woman at this point if you're a man. I don't know.
Very true. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know at this point. I don't know. I have no idea.
But I mean, what would be the
connection?
Yeah, connection. Oh yeah, yeah. That's yeah.
And then
so to go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go Eric. Go, man.
No, I'm saying the connection with Chris is it's phenomenal. Chris is, there's those people that come along in life that are like, wow, that's a kindred spirit type thing. She's like that, It's like from when we first played. And the thing about it is like we did the record with Andrew Surreal and Chris, City of Asylum, and that was basically the first time we've ever played together. It was literally like we got in, hey, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I was a fan of hers. I had heard her stuff. We had done the Vanguard with Bill McHenry, Orrin Evans, and Andrew Surreal. So I was like, well, maybe I can just I hit Mr. Surreal up about, would you mind coming in the studio for a day? I have this piano player that I'm really digging. And he was like, yeah. And basically that's what City of Asylum is. And so from that point on, Chris and I have worked together in several situations. She's phenomenal. She's a great musician and a really good person.
And she is amazing. And I'm going to reach out to her about being on the show. And Andrew Surreal, at his age, what is he now? Do you know he's 80? Is he in his 80s yet? Or I actually don't know.
I think he's early 80s.
He's like totally old school. You're like, hey man, would you mind coming to the studio? And the next, email or whatever is, here's my fee. The answer is yes. Right? No, and there's no problem with that shit, man. He's like, I asked him to do a couple of shows. He's like, man, I don't do door gigs and I need this money. And I'm like, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. And by the way, I would never drag your ass out of the house to play with me, Mr. Surreal, for less than, whatever you want.
Well, whatever.
Right. Yeah. If he said,
I mean,
what?
No, he deserves whatever he said. I mean, I wish we all could pay him 10 times what the market is offering.
Right. But I just love that he comes out of the gate. I'll play with you in the record. But
right.
Was he like that with you or not? Is it just with me or is it?
No, it's not just with you.
Okay, good. But I mean, obviously when you play music with Andrew Surreal, he's living up to his price tag. It's like, oh yeah. Okay. And your
it's
phone ringing over there or the lawyers calling?
It is ringing. It's no, I'm trying to. It's like weird, man. It's like the home phone now is only like for spam or they'll get, but yeah, no, Andrew is he's phenomenal, man.
Thank you.
He's really.
Oh, you're not talking about me, Andrew. You're talking about.
Well, yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Is this some shit with Andrews? Andrews are phenomenal.
I'm just having fun. So one thing that Nate Chinnon and I were talking about after we talked about how much we love your connection with Chris, you also play with Branford Marsalis, which from my viewpoint, since he's Wynton Marsalis's brother, I mean, that's a real feather in your cap, but you guys all just make amazing music. Right. And I think one of his records that you're on got nominated or won a Grammy, right? Is that fair? Is that the record that won a Grammy?
Well, both. Well, no, we got a Grammy for contemporary jazz, and this one, it got nominated last year.
Right.
And yeah.
So we're asking, how does Eric approach writing for, say, the group on Slipknot's versus writing for Branford's? I'm sure he makes adjustments for different personnel, but I wonder if he would describe that process.
kind of interesting with this one in particular. So I wrote a bunch of this material. I got the Jazz Gallery had a grant, a fellowship, and they called it for, you'll like this one, Andrew, for mid-career musicians.
Get your cane, motherfucker. If you have a cane, I'll give you some money.
It's like, but then, I started doing the math on the shit. It's like, yeah, I guess it is. Fuck. It was just like, it was a harsh reality. It's like,
you're going to die at 88 because you're 44 now, just so you know.
Just so you know. So they did that. And it was in conjunction with the Rockefeller estate.
Right.
So, you go up to, was it Pocantico and outside of Terrytown, and, you're on this estate. They put you in this house that was like,
cool.
It's the Brower House, which was kind of like the house of the future in 1946. So at the World Expo, the Rockefeller saw this house and it's like, shit, we want this. They chopped the shit up and put it on their estate. So you walk in there and it's like, this is the house of the future in 1946. It's like the Jetsons. It's fucking amazing, but you're out there in the middle of nowhere. You can't go anywhere. You make a trip. They come and get you like once a week. You're out there for a couple of weeks. They come and get you, you load up on food. I brought some alcohol with me.
Right.
And yeah, you're just there and you just write. So I wrote primarily all of the stuff that's on Slipknot's. In conjunction with that, I wrote 2 more tunes that made Branford's record all at the same time. So when we started recording Branford's record, I was like, these may work for this. I mean, I don't really do that in terms of, I think maybe I do that kind of work beforehand because I've gotten to the point where I'm blessed and lucky enough to work with people that were on the same page in terms of a lot of things. So there's not like a lot of explanation that I have to do. I mean, the cats in Branford's band are just consummate, say, hey, this is what I'm going for. This is it. Got you. It was like that. And the same thing with the people that are on Slipknot's. So, but then it came down to like, well, shit, it's on Branford's record. So when we went into re-record Slipknot's, it was like that's just redundant. I'm not, man, I'll write some other shit or something. It's like I'm not gonna. I know a lot of people double dip, like they'll have this tune here and I'll name it something else and put it on this record. But I was like, yeah, it's like, and the performance and what that band, what the Branford band does with those tunes it's special into itself. So, I left it at that.
I mean, I do not need to hear another fucking version of Giant Steps. John Coltrane is an amazing tenor saxophonist, or just saxophonist, of course, genius, brilliant. I don't need to hear another person do Giant Steps again. But there is something to be said for taking a composition or a song that we write and handing it to different people to see how they work with it or play it. Is that fair? Like, that's cool. That's cool. And the fact that Giant Steps was written, last century is cool too. But at a certain point, you and me and, our peers are all composing and performing new music, and Orrin Evans and Reed Anderson and all of these people and Bill McHenry. And yeah, I mean, why not check out other stuff? Maybe even we play an Eric Revis composition when you're not even there, right? At a session, or just play it where you're not there to yell at me because I played my solo at the wrong time. I love that. No, I love it. I'm like 8,000 years old, and Eric's like, you played your solo in the wrong place, man. I was like, yeah, but I mean, I did it where I thought it should be. So, there's that. But
I don't think that's the way it happened. But you know what? For the sake of like, yes,
like TV, just for TV.
Exactly right. Yeah, for the TV, for the show, man. You know what? You're exactly right. And I do apologize.
It's all right. I love
Mr.
it.
D'Angelo.
No, I absolutely love it. And it's one of those things where, what was that Have It Your Way commercial from when we were coming up? What was that, Burger King?
Burger King.
Yeah.
Burger King.
Like, you know, hold the pickles, hold the lettuce. Whatever doesn't upset us.
Something.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, I'm glad that I can still, you know, at my age, I can still kind of just do whatever I want and then get reprimanded. And I'm like, yeah, well, you know, that's why I heard the solo, you know?
Dude, it was cool. I mean, it wasn't a deal breaker. Shit, you know, it's like we were talking about, like, I mean, man, look, you know, and you alluded to it, but with, you know, that tour that we did in Europe with Kurt and Nasheed. Man, there was so much yelling that went on that tour.
Oh, man.
And it was like yelling, and then it was like hilarious, you know, like laughing. And then there was like, man, it's just, I mean, and the other thing is, like, I wasn't yelling at you, man. Like,
I know. I'm just doing it for dramatic effect. And yeah, I remember that first of all, I remember about that Europe tour we did with that quartet was grueling. And I you know, a lot of people, I mean, we're doing this interview in January 2021, and a lot of people ask me, hey man, do you miss touring? And I'm like, well, yes. I mean, I miss the fun, but right, the whole, sometimes you take 2 trains or 2 flights in a day, and then, you know, you got to run to the hotel and check in, and then run to sound check, and maybe you have to change reeds or drum heads or bass strings, and then have a quick dinner, and then play 2 sets, or maybe it's one long set for a few hundred or 1,000 people, and then you just want to relax, but you got to get up at 5 in the morning and do it all over again, right? And I remember that night, man. I think we were in Amsterdam, but I could be wrong about the place. You can correct me. And Nasheed was like, D'Angelo, we ran out of wine. You're good at fixing stuff. He goes, go get us some wine. I was like, okay, anything else? He goes, go get us some ladies. And he goes, not those boy ladies that you like. I'm like,
wait a minute, hold on. See, I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, it's all good.
Hey, we're out on the road.
And I like it. Eric is directing, which is cool because I need a little direction today. But it's, you know, I just remember Nasheed, like, you know, having this moment where we were backstage, and I think it was in Amsterdam, as I said before, and he was like,
Rotterdam.
Sorry, okay.
Interruption.
No, it's all right. It was Holland anyway. And you can interrupt me all you want, man. It's all good. And we ran out of wine backstage. And you're in Holland. Wine is not, at least then, you know, whenever this was 8 years ago or something like that, wasn't a thing. And she's like, Andrew, you know, I said, D'Angelo, get us some more wine. And I'm like, okay. Anything else, sir? And he's like, yeah, get us some of those, get some ladies while you're at it. And he goes, actually, make sure it's not those lady boys that you, you know, like. And I said, okay. So I come back with, somebody brought us a bottle or 2 wine or something like that. And it was terrible. Do you remember that wine? It was just terrible.
It was horrible. People were complaining.
Yeah, we were like,
people were complaining.
This is fucking shit, man. And then we finished that wine, and then we're like, we should probably get some more, right?
Here's the thing I remember about it. So we went on. It was like that big festival. It was like, you know, multi-genre festival type thing.
Right.
And we had been, like you said, man, I mean, the traveling at that point was, I mean, it was pretty
ridiculous.
Rough.
It was ridiculous.
And we were hanging too. I mean, so it was like, you know, not only were, you know, travel was rough. I mean, you know, gigs were great while we were playing, but it's just like, man, all of this stuff was going on. And then I think we were hanging afterwards and get up and travel. Like, so we get to this place, and I remember it was like a huge backstage area where they had like they had these like cubicles set up. They had it partitioned off for different bands because they were expecting, I don't know, man, it was like 50 bands that night. So they're dropping us off and they're like, so what time do you want us to pick us? What time do you want us to pick you guys up? And I think we went on at like 7:30. And so we're like, man, everybody's like, yo, oh man, yeah. You know what, just man, if you could just be here when the show ends, or you know what, man, like, okay, man, get an hour. So what, we play 7:30 to 8:30, 9, blah, blah, blah. Okay, 10 o'clock. Or no, it was, I mean, I think we said like 9, 7:30, 8:30, we're off. Pick us up at 9. So, and we're there at like 6 o'clock in the afternoon for sound checks and all this stuff. And I think that we didn't leave that venue after all that shit until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Totally.
All the other bands, they were trying to like find spaces, and we had just like commandeered the whole shit, and everybody's just talking shit, and like oh man, it was that was good. That was some good memory.
That's a good memory, and I think that's the night that they called the cops on me, right? Isn't that the same night?
Oh, that is the night they called the cops on you. After all of this, yeah, it's really hard to put this in terms that people don't readily understand. But yeah, so we ended up back in somebody's room, and at that point, everybody is pretty far gone. Like we've extended like reality to it's hanging on by a tether.
I'm like, it's breakfast. It's time for breakfast. I can go down for breakfast.
Exactly. Yeah. All the while you're doing this thing. You're like, and you would jump up. And you would jump up with like, man, we just need to play free. Just play free. Fucking blah, blah, blah. And then you would go down. They're arguing. I'm like, and then so breakfast comes. You're like, fuck it. I'm going to breakfast. And so at that point, it's like everybody's like, look, man, we gotta. You go downstairs, and so the next thing I know. The next memory I have of it is like we're all meeting, we're driving to Amsterdam from Rotterdam. And it's like, you come up, it's like, man, I think I got arrested or the cops got called and blah, blah. What happened exactly?
I because it's Europe, I decided in my possibly inebriated state to sit with somebody for breakfast. It was just some guy. Right. And that's not unusual in Europe. You just sit down and so I start talking to him. I can't imagine what that was like for him. And so he gets up and moves. So then I move to go sit with him again, just because I was in the state of mind I was in, and keep talking to the guy. And yeah, possibly I thought he was hot or something like that. Right. Maybe I was in that kind of zone. And all of a sudden, 2 Dutch female police officers come and they're like, sir, are you staying at this hotel? And you know how it is when you're on the road, you're like, what city am I in? Right. What hotel am I in? And they're like, what's your room number? I'm like, I don't fucking know. 512. I don't know. And so I show him my room key and they go to the desk and it's like, hey, he's staying here. And so then I kind of get clearance, and then I tell the female cops, I was like, you guys are kind of hot in those uniforms. Okay, not a good idea.
Yeah. Okay.
And or I said you're kind of good looking in those uniforms, because I felt like I had already gotten out of my situation, that I stayed at the hotel. I just had some drinks and probably been up all night. And they were like, okay, well, just, keep it down. I said, well, have a nice day. And then literally, I think our tour bus showed up and then we were on our way. I mean, that was our night no sleep, right?
There was very, very little sleep. I remember that we stopped like 2 or 3 times on the way because we were going from Rotterdam to Amsterdam, which is like maybe an hour trip. And the cars would have to pull. I think we had one bus and a car or something, and at various times pulling over and people throwing up. It was one of those like
Yeah.
Total like jazz Spinal Tap.
Oh shit, that's right. We had to pull over, so somebody had to.
I'm not gonna mention any names.
Yeah, and then right. I forgot about that part.
And then we did a double bill. We did a double bill with Reed in them with the Bad Plus.
Oh yeah,
which was just totally destroyed. I mean, we were all like on fumes. Like,
no, wait a minute. That was the gig where I rode with the promoter in a car, and you guys were in the tour bus. And I was telling her, well, man, we were up all night, man, so we're kind of tired. And then everybody kept pulling over to do their, business. And then we do the gig, and people want an encore, right? And and we were all just like, yeah, we're not doing an encore. And they're like, yeah, encore. And we're like, nah, we're too tired. And they actually, the promoter and a few of the people in the audience came after me on social media. They were like, you should have done an encore, man. We paid this kind of money. And I was like, all right, maybe. I actually didn't. I don't think I responded. I just kind of ignored those messages.
Okay.
But
yeah. That was like the Herculean effort. The fact that they got any music that night, given the next, and I'm speaking for both of us. We are giving the very, very like PG version of this shit. But the fact that anybody was walking at that point was pretty impressive.
So what do we say to people who tell us, well, that was self-inflicted? I mean, because we didn't have to stay up all night.
They're absolutely right. They are absolutely right. They're absolutely right.
But what I think, now I'm going to be like super dorky, but I think what people don't understand is that the hours from midnight till 6 a.m. is kind of the only time we have to relax when you're on the road. And you're right, folks. We do not have to be drinking during that period. That's true. But it's really, I mean, we probably spent an hour in our hotel room that night. Maybe all of us, maybe an hour and a half,
Maybe.
If that. And it's like, this is kind of our time to unwind. I was going to say our untime to unwind. But it's a...
Well, I did suggest Bible study. But apparently it didn't go over too well. So,
knowing me, I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll go to Bible study," and totally fuck shit up.
I'm not. No. It's like, but yeah, man. You know what? And at that point, we'd been out for a minute. No, but it was good, man. I mean, that was a great time. And to think that, I don't want to give the impression that it was just like full of like all this, fucking debauchery and like it wasn't that at all. There were elements of that, but it was also like really, really illuminating. It was very, I mean, the one thing about, I remember like, it's all like really, really smart people, and the conversations that would just develop and it was really, really good, man. It was really a lot of good meals, a lot of good just camaraderie shit, Did
you say a lot of good males or a lot of good meals?
Meals. I'm speaking for myself.
Right.
Dude.
I had something I wanted to ask you, and I just have to find it. I'm breaking the rules here by leaning over to my. Oh, so we're talking about Earl and the 3/5 compromise.
Yes.
Okay. And I found this quote online, and this is annoying. I know you'd probably want it to come from me, but I would not be able to write it like this. So Earl and the 3/5 compromise. Can you tell us quickly? That's a ballad from one of your records. Can you just quickly, and then or if you want, I can just read the quote that I grabbed off the internet.
What do you want to just describe the tune, or?
All right, fair enough. Anyway, this writer says, so Darius Jones plays long, quiet tones at the start of the improvised section with Bill McHenry creeping in and around him. And I was like, that is the fucking best description of both of Darius and McHenry that I've ever heard. And this is Will Lehman. This is like the idea of Bill McHenry creeping around, like your improv. I'm like, okay, yeah, pretty much. And the writer is Will Lehman. I don't know Will Lehman, but that's the attributed quote. But I was like, oh my God, like I couldn't have said it better. Like Bill is always creeping around my solos. Right?
Funny, man. That is funny. You know what? I want Bill here to because I know that he would be saying something right now that would be just totally fucking prescient. Yeah, no, it's man, it worked out really, really well. I mean, it was kind of a, you know how, I don't know how, I mean, you're much more prolific in terms of your composition than I am. Okay. You know, you write like a lot. Yeah. My process is usually like a long thing. Like I'll go through a period of writing, then I go through a period of just kind of like, okay, what do I want to do? Yeah, I listen to a bunch of stuff, or I check out things, and it's just like, you know, it's kind of piecing together where this next road is going to be. And I know that with Earl, there was that whole, you know, like Ellingtonia thing. You know, it's kind of like a, you know, it's a 12/8 thing. Earl's in 5. But it's I wanted that, you know, it's like it's been haunting me for like a while to be able to do something like that. And so I opened up that door and went in there, and that's where the tune came from. And yeah, so then that's where Earl comes from. I mean, the title is shit. I'm trying to bite off of Duke. What's the Earl? Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting to hear you talk about Duke Ellington being an influence for you, because, you know, with me, I always get Ornette, Coleman, or maybe Albert Ayler or something, right? Like Jeff Watts said he could hear the Ornette Coleman, or, you know, Albert Ayler in me. But I'm so when I was a kid, especially coming up, I was so obsessed with Duke, because I was like, you can't, in jazz, you're supposed to write AABA, like you write this form, right? And maybe you diverge a little bit, and the, you know, or the blues has its form, but Duke was just doing this elaborate shit, and Billy Strayhorn. And, you know, for me, I was like, well, can I do that? And, you know, depending on who I talk to, they're like, yes or no, you know, you should just write, you know, songs in the tradition. And I was like, well, I don't really want to. I want to write long form, like, you know, and his mother called him Bill kind of thing, you know, these like mini suites or even longer suites. And
it's amazing how that do you find that it keeps like Duke is somebody who like that whole overall, like it keeps giving as it's like it's a deeper give
every
than
time.
It was when you first, like you may have dug it, but as you develop, the shit gets deeper and deeper, and there's very few things. It's like usually as you develop, the shit is like, oh, I'm figuring this out. Okay, I see what's happening. With Duke, it's like, man, okay, I hear that. What the fuck is that? What? Yeah. How do you? You know, it's like.
Where does that? Yeah. Where does that even come from?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, where does that? That's been a running theme here, and so far, no one's really given a concrete answer. But where does music come from? And whether it's you, Eric, and you're making a recording in a studio, and then you're like, I'm not happy with that, so I'm going to do it again, or somebody else. You know, like J.D. Allen, who said, I go in the studio, we play a set, maybe 2 sets. That's the music. I don't do anything else to it. I don't edit. I don't do any, cuts. I don't do any overdubs. And then there's people I know who are so precise that they don't even walk into a recording studio until they know exactly what they're going to play. So I don't know. I have no idea where this stuff comes from. And, it's part of my conundrum because I would love to be able to just make a blanket statement like, this is where music comes from. And this is where Duke Ellington, and Duke always talked about, we would just fuck off for a week. And then I realized I had to write some music and I'd sit down and write it down, And so maybe the music came from that night when I almost got arrested. Maybe that's where the music came from.
Right.
Those 7 hours of us just like saying, all right, we're staying up all night, here and doing it. And maybe that's what made the music. That gig in Amsterdam was killing, by the way. And I also got positive messages like that was the best show I've seen in, some kids were like in 10 years.
It was good. I mean, I've from what I do remember of it, it was like, it was good, man. It's like, that was fun, man. I don't know where this shit comes from. I know that, it's funny, you mentioned that whole thing of like the different processes that we have, but I think that your process should also be dictated by what your ultimate goal is. So, I mean, for me personally, I mean, I want some vulnerability in there, despite my like second guessing myself or, oh shit, what am I going to do here? What am I going to do here? Which is the process I think that we all go through. Anybody who tries to write music, you always go through that. But do you also want like the sound of like honesty? The sound of like being like, man, shit, that's what it is. And I really like that. Branford has been, man, this dude, there are no more than like 3 takes of any tune that he's ever done.
Right.
He's like, fuck it. If it's not there, we don't have it. Excuse me while I'm making this. Orrin Evans is calling me.
Oh, that's amazing. I've been begging Orrin to come on the show. Maybe you should answer it and we can have him on.
Oh, you know what? Let me do that. Oh. No, I think I missed it.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. No, hold on. Hello? No, missed it. I should have put this. Yeah, man. I mean, I want some of that in the shit. I want like some of the honesty, be it good, bad, or indifferent. I never want to be one of those that is like that meticulous. I just don't like the way it sounds. I don't like the way when I try to be meticulous, I don't like the way that it sounds.
Right. And so do you mind if I interrupt or interject something here?
No, by all means.
So in July 2020, during the pandemic, I released my big band record. And anyway, I have my I guess just insecurities about the execution, the music, I guess is the way I would put it. And I waited 10 years to put out the record, not because I was working on it, but just because like, is it good enough? Did people play the music? And a lot of people said to me, well, just record it again. Like do the record again. And there was about 25 people involved. And so then after people telling me that, maybe it was like 3 or 4 people, I went back and listened. I was like, I can't capture this moment again. Like that moment happened. And whether or not can be self-critical and, like I could have played that part better and so could have done their part better and, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I can't I can't take that photo again. That exists. It's like old school, like, film camera. That's the photo.
Right.
And I can't go back in the studio and replicate that moment. I'm not, at least Andrew, I'm not that kind of person. But maybe you are, Eric. Maybe that helps your process. I don't know.
No, I mean, you know what? If there weren't the only reason that I went back in and had to re-record, which I dreaded terribly because I'm of that same mindset. Like you can't recapture, you just can't recapture the essence or the environment that you are when it's like, I've written this, I'm recording it, it's out. The reason that I did it on this one was simply because we had some technical issues that it was like, we were getting bleed in weird places. It was just like, it wasn't able to be put out. So with that, and ironically, that's kind of, I kind of did a weird thing, like psychologically. It was just like, okay, yeah, man, just get it out. Just get this out so we can empty this cup and move on to the next thing.
Right.
And, it's been, it's gotten a lot of juice or pub, it's kind of interesting how something like that happens, but.
Right. So maybe it was worth it. Whereas my big band record hasn't gotten that juice, and so I understand. So maybe,
Wait a minute, now is this the band that was at when you guys did Winterfest? This was like maybe 10 years.
You and Nasheed always talk about that.
That shit was fucking killing, dude.
That was a great gig.
Killing.
I'm proud of that gig, and I wish I had a bootleg or something of that show. But I remember you and Nasheed. Just so you know, you and Nasheed were like sitting on like in the back, like on some chairs or a bench or something. I was like, right. Oh shit. Nasheed Waits and Eric Revis are here. Holy fucking shit. And I remember looking at McHenry and I'm like, I hope they dig it. And he's like, man, they're going to fucking love it. I mean, this is all subconscious, right? We're not like actually saying that. And then,
right.
And then it's also that frantic gig thing where you got to start at 8:05 and finish by 8:55, and they're giving you pressure, and there's people there from the Times taking photo, and whatever. And I was just like, but all I cared about was you two. And I remember walking straight back to you after the set. I was like, so what do you think? And you guys were like, holy fucking shit. Like she was like,
it was fucking amazing.
Yeah, and she was like, what just happened? And I was like, I don't know, because when you do a gig and you're just not even conscious, you're just out there, right. And the show goes by and you're not really thinking about anything, you're just doing it. But I was like, I was waiting for your review, and you're like, holy fucking shit, man. And then she's like, I don't know what I just saw there.
It was bad as hell. It was like, yo, man, you guys fired, like everything fired on all cylinders of everything that's like important.
Thank you.
Everything. And man, the sophistication of the writing, just like the balls, the irreverence, like I don't care, man. It was everything. Y'all, it was an incredible show. That was like one of the best. And I kept actually hounding Bill. It's like, yo, man, when is he gonna put it out? And then I heard, and then maybe me and you talked also about, some things that had gone on in terms of like it had been recorded, but there was some issues with that. But
which you can relate to, I'm sure.
Yeah, that was.
Right. Yeah. Right. So
yes.
Yeah, I understand. But it's just that, I guess here's what I want to ask. And this is a tough question, and I promised to remove if you aren't into it.
Okay.
But sometimes I can't fucking stand my playing. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's inherent in all artists or if I just lack confidence. But that big band record, I just was like, I'm not sure I even sound, how can I put out something that I'm not happy with? Maybe I should re-record it, and do what I think is better. I don't know, very self-critical. That's all I'm saying. I don't know, Eric. I have no idea. I'm just asking a question.
But I also think that it goes back to what I was saying. It's like, you know, what is the criteria that you begin with? Like, so sometimes, man, I mean, we can all go down a nitpicking rabbit hole. And anybody who is satisfied with their playing, they don't play worth a fuck. Anybody who's like, I am the shit, that's somebody I don't want to hear. And I hear that with, you know, certain people. It's like, wait a minute, hold on. Okay. I put the phone near me so I could turn up. So, I mean, I think that the concern should not be whether or not, like, oh, I sound, man. It's like, what is, man, you have some badass music. People that you say that you respect have said, man, this is some bad shit. And sometimes you got to let it go, man. I mean, that's the one thing I've learned from being a father for all of my adult life. I've been a father longer than I was not a father. And I realized that as much as I want to coddle, influence, guide my kids, blah, 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 there's also a certain element where it's like, man, these people they're themselves. You have to like let it go and trust that you have done the work and you are a good person and that is good music. So fuck it, man. Don't let those kind of things, you know, if it's a technical issue, you know, now I'm giving myself like a side out. It was a technical issue, man. Yeah, you definitely should record it again because you just can't have that out there. But, you know, man, fuck. All this shit is just like a good ride, you know. It's like,
I mean, right. I think I understand what you mean. In the end, it's just all fun. Like, I like the fact that I get to listen to, you know, this record, big band record that I made and make decisions on how I feel about it. Like, that's even cool that I even wrote the music, excuse me, or that I did what I did. So like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, man, good job. Right. But at the same time, I read the story maybe yesterday about this classical pianist who died quite young. And this is back when people lived to be about 30 anyway. So back in the day. And he would record, you know, or rehearse these Haydn compositions or Haydn, depending on which country you're coming from, you know, 25 times before he felt comfortable performing them. So when we get caught in the 9th time or the 10th time, excuse me, and, you know, we're still not happy with our performance, but yet we have to be on stage or we're in the studio, and therefore, you know, we could, you know, say, well, that wasn't my greatest show, or what do comics say, they bombed, or, you know, my big band record. I don't think I bombed, but I know I could do better. But I couldn't lose that moment. I couldn't lose that photo. And so I don't know if I'm being critical of my technique or if I'm being critical of the fact that, you know, nobody really noticed. Kind of came in and came out. That's why this will sound dorky and a little like I don't know you, but that's why I like Slipknots, because people are noticing the energy and the time and the perfection of that record. And that's what I really love about it. And that is something that I can appreciate. I can listen to it. I'm like, I may not like that moment in the music, Andrew, not the audience, but me, because I'm like, but I know that's what Revis wanted. And that's exactly what he wanted. And that I can appreciate. And thank you, man. Honor that. No, but it's true. And one of the things about this show, you're welcome, that I love is like it's forcing me to go back and listen to, you know, music that I haven't heard in a while, you know, or maybe I listened to in passing on YouTube or something. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to check. Holy shit. Bill is tonguing a lot. And nobody's gonna know what that means, but how do we relate that? What's tonguing?
Taka.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean,
but you know what I'm talking about, right? I even have a note on that moment. I was like, all right, Bill's doing his tonguing thing here. And then Darius Jones is trying to keep up. And I'm like, Darius, you're doing a pretty good job, but nobody can tongue as fast as Bill. And it was just such a great moment. And it made me feel so good. And, you know, to know that you spent so much time and energy to create it also makes me feel good. And so, you know, but walking backwards and understanding that as creators, you know, that we all have our moments of like, I could have done better, man. Right. And as you said, like, what's the gauge for this though? Right.
I know. Do you remember a couple things that just bring this brings to mind? I remember when I was in Betty Carter's band and we had all gone to Jazz Ahead and she started using horn players. So JD Allen, even me and JD, I think we got to New York on like the same day. And so we're in Europe on this, maybe like the second European tour that I did with Betty, and JD was out there, and there was a band with, and it was all these, it was like one of those all-star bands, one of those, you know, jazz festival all-star bands. And I think maybe it was Johnny Griffin or some shit. And, you know, I mean, we're all like young and, you know, rah. And I was like, yo, man, aren't you scared, man? Johnny Griffin is out there. And JD Allen said this shit, man, maybe 30 years ago that has stuck with me as just something that's so beautiful. He said, man, I'm not worried about him. I'm going to be the best fucking JD Allen there ever was.
Huh.
And that's taken on many iterations. And like, you know, of course we could all be better. Of course we all think that we could be better, but I'm going to be the best me that there ever was.
Right.
At that point, I have no competition. Or you know, and we shouldn't think of music as competition, man. I mean, you say tomato, I say tomato. Fuck, you know, it's like the other thing that's interesting is when we think that we could have played better. When we learn this music, it's almost like a counterintuitive process because we get into a very young perspective in that more is more. You're always permutating. You're always like, oh, I need to play faster. I need to play more. I need more knowledge to do more things in this way. And I need to do more and more and more. Yet, the ultimate goal in this fucking shit is to have one note and people go like, oh, it's fucking Miles. Oh, Sonny Rollins. Oh shit, that's Wilbur Ware. Oh shit, PC. It's Mingus. Oh damn, that's Dizzy. One fucking note. So we're, you know, the whole idea of like us harping on or just being concerned with like, damn, I could have done better, man. What the fuck is better? Honest. That's what's good. Honest. You being the best Andrew D'Angelo that ever walked the fucking face of this earth.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a therapy session with you, but okay. But it's like, all right. I mean, I agree with you.
And with that, let's go to
I love you, man, and I'm so grateful you came here, and thank you so much. And if it's okay with you, I would like to ask you if in your life, I mean, with everything that's happened, with the storming of the Capitol and, you know, these racist fucking insurrectionists and, you know, me being a gay man and the homophobia I've experienced in the music business, is there anything that you want to say to everybody about, you know, what it's like to grow up to be a black man in America or just being a professional musician in the, you know, have you, and a father, you're a father as well. So is there anything you want to say or, you know? blah, blah, blah.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know. It's like when you look at the common denominator in this shit, it's kind of like the old white man paradigm has kind of just fucked everything up. Because those are the ones that are in control. But in terms of what I've experienced, there've been like, so I mean, I grew up in Fresno, California, man. So basically, I was suspended or kicked out of school every year from 4th grade through 10th grade for fighting. And it was always somebody calling me out my name. It was always, they had put me in a quote unquote gifted program. So I was one of the very few, if only. And I didn't take, it's like my father and my mother were both very, very politically conscious and very red. So, presented some, that's a whole rabbit hole that I mean, it got kind of deep for a while where they were like, so I got put in going from a gifted program to a remedial program because of shit, it's like, but let's just go, but like, in terms of being an adult and an artist in this thing, it is amazing how none of this comes as a surprise. What is going on? Some of my dearest friends and musicians that I've come up with, and noticing like the musicians that are my predecessors and people that I've idolized for years and years, by virtue of the fact that they're Black, they're always, there's always those monikers of like forceful. Oh, he's so strong, blah, 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 blah. There's never a, nobody talks about the intellect or the brilliance of this. It's like if you talk about somebody, Jeff Tain Watts has been analyzed or talked about in like, oh, it's just so strong, it's so this, it's so forceful. Whereas he is one of the most brilliant people walking the earth in so many fashions. The man is absolutely brilliant. But when it comes to what we do, it's like, oh, and the forcefulness of this, So, I mean, with this brilliance, what about his sensitivity? What about his compassion as a human being that comes across in the music that you may be? And I mean, I think that there's probably very few, especially the people that are dear to me, that we don't get that all the time. It's like, I mean, this is what's been funny about this record is people are, the accolades are coming in somewhat in terms of like composition or that, but usually it's like, I'm a forceful bass player, fucking gorilla with a bass.
Right.
I'm used to that. Oh, his tone, he's so strong, blah, blah, blah. I got a review one time in a very, very prominent newspaper. And it was like, wow, all of the fucking terms that are being used to describe me have nothing to do with the amount of effort, the intellectual effort, or the shit that I've gone through to put into this. None of it. It's how hard do I pull the strings? So I see that quite a bit. I see it. It's funny because I also see like a sense of tolerance within the group. And I'm just lucky that I have friends and musicians that I play with and that I've associated with that we don't really fuck with that. It's like we're good with each other. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's I
mean, I think that's worthy of explaining, by the way, if you're up for it.
Well, I haven't, all of these things that I'm talking about, I don't experience with the musicians that I've surrounded myself. So like, I don't experience, well, I'm on the other side of it, but I don't experience racist shit with my friends, with Bill, with you, with like, you know, it's like, we don't deal in those terms, man. You know, we don't deal with like, I have absolutely no problem, or anybody I know has problems with these things. So it's this overarching, shit, man, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. You know, it's the overarching burden is placed on by somebody else. I mean, maybe. What do you think? Help me through this. I'm kind of at a.
Right. I just didn't want to interrupt in case that you went somewhere that, you know, which you did, which is, it's beautiful in a way, but it's also like, fuck, right? I mean, coming up and just to be, you know, completely honest. And when I interviewed Sharif Ali the other day, you know, if I was on a street corner and let's say I'm 14 or 15 or something like that, and, you know, maybe I'm having to smoke a joint, and this is like 1980 or 70s even maybe, you know, or having a beer, the cops would come and they'd be like, you know, move it along, kid, right? But Sharif was like, yeah, if that was us, I would be in prison right now. And it's just a completely different story. Like, you know, and everybody's like, man, I don't know why everybody's so concerned about this, you know, storming of the Capitol. It was just, you know, a bunch of crazy, you know, right-wing people. I was like, yeah, who were like trying to kill people and hate fucking, you know, are racist and are homophobic. And it's just but
dude, I mean, here's the thing. And
was that enough of a provocation?
No. But here's something that's really interesting about that. It's like, you know what, we're talking about the storming of the Capitol and all this shit. And it's like, so they're saying, okay, well, now gradually all this shit has come out. There's all these people that have been members of fire departments. A lot of fucking police officials from across the country have been popped to this shit. This is shit that we've known.
Yep.
This is shit that everybody who was in any way cognizant of the political dynamic of this country knows. These motherfuckers have been totally in that camp. They're like, oh, we found 2 National Guardsmen that had to be sent home. Are you fucking kidding? Just 2? Really?
Right.
So, but why is that the elephant in the room now? Or why isn't that being discussed in a fashion that it's like, man, this shit is rampant, and the mechanisms by which they've chosen to govern this whole thing, you know, policing, military, all this shit. You know, usually people that are inclined to do that shit, they also have a mindset of this racist fucking right-wing bullshit. How are you going to get them out? How are you going to get them out? And it covers all of it. It's sexist, it's homophobic, it's racist, it's classist. It's like maybe not so much classes other than them protecting the class that they want to protect. But yeah.
Yeah, but aren't you okay? Holy shit. Well, this is opened up a whole new, like you said, rabbit hole. But it's just it I can't. First of all, I think our government should be overthrown. I'm kind of okay with that. Like, I don't really think that our government is that great.
I have no problem with it.
Right.
I have no problem with it.
But when people are wearing swastikas and, you know, like doing racist shit and calling people faggots, and there are videos of people calling somebody who's not even gay a faggot, I'm like, that's a little bit because those are ideologies that are inherently bad. And I can, as a gay man, and I love when your dogs agree with the conversation. I think that's great. I wouldn't worry about it, Eric.
They're definitely agreeing with it.
I think they're just like, yeah, all right, great conversation. But you know,
hold on a second. I'm on the thing. All kinds of small mammals walking in the house.
Right. Honey, I'll be on the couch tonight. Don't worry about it. It's no problem. Sorry. I'll take that out. Come on. I'm just having fun.
I'm always on the couch.
But you know, like here's where we're at. Can I just take a quick tangent and without bothering you? Yeah. Can I just take a quick tangent?
You're not bothering me at all, bro.
So no, I mean with the tangent. I mean, so I'm on this I took this digital marketing course, right? And so they're talking about how to market your music, you know, in the digital era. And it's mostly kids in their 20s and stuff like that, maybe 30s. But I was like, I want to know about this shit. So I'm posting, you know, that my record's up for a Grammy and blah, 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 blah. And this kid goes, why are you here? Shouldn't you be? And I was like, yeah, I mean, with Spotify and everything, you know, what I used to get from, what do you call it? BMI or ASCAP or something like that. You know, you would, and this kid, I think he said he was 23, was like, well, how did that work? You got paid for your music? It's like, yeah. Because I would create content and then they would play my music on the radio or whatever, and I would get paid, right? You too, right? I mean, we'd make money. And he had no idea what I was talking about. And I kind of trumped the conversation. But my point is, like, when you're talking about, well, we all know this and this is just the way it is, I was like, I don't think everybody does. I mean, I'm talking about racism and I'm talking about homophobia and sexism. I don't think everybody does.
But you know what though? I know that you're absolutely right. No, not everybody does, and that is the maniacal way that this country has developed itself. When we were talking about beforehand, this may need to be edited out. I don't know. You'll be the determining factor. I don't know. But you know, when we're talking about beforehand, like when you're going through the end of something and you look back on the beginning of it and you say, wow, shit, there were signs there. That was a fucking damn. Right. I remember recognizing that then.
Right. And you don't pay attention to it.
It's prescient now, because now it's like, fuck, it all like lines up, man. It's the same fucking shit. It's the same shit. I mean, look, you have a country where the predominant factor, or, you know, race-wise, white folks, you have had to have bred into your DNA that the shit is not that bad. It's not that bad. It's like, fuck, how else can you do, if you go through and you do not even a deep dive, a cursory dive on the atrocities of enslaving a whole group of people for that many years, right. And not only that, but to feel comfortable about it, to be like, it wasn't that bad. That's been inbred in that side. So now it's like, oh, fuck, the pandemic has done an amazing thing for that, because people have been sitting in their houses going like, wait a minute, fuck, you mean there's a goddamn statue of Robert E. Lee still up? What the
it's fuck? Like, what the fuck?
Are you serious?
I was one of those people, by the way. I was like, really?
It's like, wait a minute, this still exists, but that is, man, that is the brilliance that motherfuckers, the power structure has had. It's like, oh, it's not, and then when you can turn it around through media, now social media or whatever, news cycles, you can turn around where people, when they were addressing this, you're overreacting. You're addressing a truism. It's like, wow, you know what? It's like, I'm growing up in San Antonio, Texas, or I'm in San Antonio, Texas, and my son has to graduate from Robert E. Lee High School.
Right.
This is not right. This is
cool.
not right.
It's not cool.
But me bringing that up in any form or fashion, I'm overreacting. So the one thing that the pandemic has done, and the one thing that Trump has done, it is taking the veil off this shit that has been this shit that has been kind of like, and I'm not going to say bred in, that sounds, too, I don't know, but has been a part of the shit. Has been a part of the shit for a long time, and people have had to sit back, and now you have nothing else to do but look at this, and they watch George Floyd being murdered. It's like, oh, fuck, wait a minute. You mean beforehand when you guys said there was police brutality, we're like, oh, you're overreacting. Oh, you must have been doing something wrong. It's like this man was pleading from the get-go. Before he was out of the car, he was pleading.
Right. And I mean, there's a lot of people that, all right, Jesus Christ. All right, Eric, that was, I don't know what the word to use. Thank you for sharing. I don't, there are a lot of people that say, well, we just can see, people have their phones, man, and we can just see more now. I'm like, right. But that's kind of the point, is we can see it now. We can see that kid on the corner of the block who's black and getting harassed by the cops and maybe even killed, right? Like, we can see that now. And like you said, Eric, it's been going on for, whatever. I think Arnold Strickland was talking about, it's centuries, right? I mean, it's just like, it's not like, oh, this just kind of showed up because of Donald Trump. No, the veil, as you said, is like, maybe he did drain the swamp. Maybe it is like, okay, right. We need.
I think he did in a way, but man, here's what's interesting to me, and we could have the conversation, because there are a lot of things that are going on that are basically. I had this. My daughter, she's 15. She was in her room, walked in her room, and she was watching this makeup tutorial. And I'm like, what do you do? What do you watch? Blah, blah, blah. And there was a trans person doing this makeup tutorial. 53, I go, what? Oh, shit. It's a tranny. How dumb my ass is. She's like, Dad, you don't say that.
Right.
And I'm like, what the, totally oblivious. Now, this is the same shit that I'm saying that white folks have done for like, what do you mean? Oh, no, it's like, they say it on the porn sites. It's like, what am I going to say? 15-year-old daughter. It's like, she's like, no, you don't say that.
Right.
It's like, oh, shit. So you take that. That's one example. Two examples. Man, you can watch fucking Cheerios commercials, and there are black mothers, white fathers, black mothers. There's a whole array of shit that was considered taboo for all of our, me and you, all of our lives. We never saw an interracial couple in any capacity. We're seeing same-sex couples on a fucking Cheerios commercial. So I think the tide of social consciousness, regardless of what this whole political structure, these structures that have been made to like keep us down, man, they have no chance, because I have a daughter who is telling her father like that is inappropriate. And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And it's on me because I didn't know, but now I am going to know. So, I mean, even though we can look at it and say, but man, the tide of this shit is like, damn, finally people are finding out. But man, it's been going on for a long time, man. I don't know when the last time you've been to the Midwest, but it's a lot of mixed motherfuckers in the Midwest. Brothers have been putting in work.
Right. They're doing good. Yeah, but here's two strange things. And one thing from this podcast, I'm learning that I make a lot of verbal sounds. So everybody's going to have to deal. But
Tourette's or gas?
It might just be my epilepsy. I have no idea. Okay. But two things about the Midwest. My cousins all live in Nebraska, okay? And they all voted for Trump both times, okay?
Right.
And at one point I got a call from one of my cousins saying, you know, you don't have to be gay. And I'm like, yeah, but
great.
this is like, I'm not like 19 and coming out, man. I mean, you know,
right.
I mean, the amount of cock that I've sucked is pretty apparent. And she's like, you know, you don't have to be gay. It's a choice. I'm like, really? And then,
God.
Right. I'm not kidding. And then she called me to say, I'm just making sure you're voting for Trump because that other guy is crazy. I was like, that other guy? Yeah, what's his name? I said, Joe Biden? She goes, yeah. Okay. And then my other cousin, Brian, is trolling me on Facebook. So now I can't post about politics because I have to deal with him about how, you know, Democrats are murderers and blah, 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 and we're Antifa. So it's just a fucking shit show. But it's also, as you said, Eric, it's just bringing up this, you know, like I think I maybe said it here or on another podcast. It's flipping over the rocks. Like we just need to look at this dirty underside and be like, okay, fair enough. But the reality
here's. Go ahead.
No, I the reality of my question is that more than talking about the current manifestation of, all right, it's time to heal, which is beautiful. I was like, what's it like to be fucking 15 and a black dude in, you know, California or wherever, you know, just like, what is that like? And then like, how does that translate? Yeah.
I do, well, you know, and being that I'm in LA, maybe I have a different, somewhat of a skewed perspective, being that my kids are for the most part very cosmopolitan in terms of that, you know. But man, they don't really fuck with it. It's almost like it's a passe thing. Like I'm telling my kids, like, yo, you need to watch this. You need to do this. You need to, because I grew up in a very racialized, very binary thing. You know, it's like there's very black, white. There's very, you know, good, evil, Christian, not whatever you want to call it. They don't fuck with that.
So here's my response to that, or gay, straight, or whatever, right? Here's my response. And this second part to my comment that I forgot. So my neighbor's 96, right? 96, born in 1923, right? And maybe you've seen my posts about her on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, she's a little racist. She's from 1923. She's like, you know, the black fellow over there and, you know, the gay fellow. Oh, no, she goes, the guy who lives with another guy. You know what I mean, Andrew, right? There might be a little racism, homophobia. But what I find is that my nephews and my nieces, you know, who are in their 20s at this point, they don't even like think about this shit. And I don't want to post this on Facebook or Twitter because I don't want to argue with anybody, but they really don't. They're just like, what are you talking about? I was like, I'm just saying.
What do you mean they don't think about it? I mean, what do you mean?
Well, like
they don't think about it.
I mean, for my neighbor, her coming up, I mean, she was programmed to think that black people were different than her, or, you know, right. And that gay people were, you know, weird, or I don't know, because I don't engage with her about it. But, you know, I think kids coming up today are like, I don't know. My friend's a trans.
They don't have any. I mean, I know that So my youngest, my son is 10. His sister's 15, and she's always like, like berating him more about something that can be construed as a anti-gay thing that he says. I mean, it's like they don't even, and she's like, oh yeah, this is my friend, he's gay, blah blah blah. And I'm almost of the, this is where my old school shit comes in. It's like, I don't give a fuck. It's like, I understand that you have to say that maybe, but in a way, it's like, it's a good person, then we're good.
Yeah.
What comes after that, cool.
Right.
If that's some extra knowledge that you find that is pertinent that I should know, fine. But just as a general rule, I'm not. Now, what I think was interesting though, Andrew, is that there is somewhat of a pass that you give to your neighbor. She grew up that way. Okay, fine. But how is that pass a pass? And your relatives, your nieces and nephews, you're not, they may have grown up that way in terms of like, and trust me, in Nebraska, they grew up that way. There is no like, a bastion of like, I have a very, very good friend of mine. I remember when he got to New York, we were sitting there playing like Taboo or some shit. And one of the questions had to deal with Darwin. And this motherfucker didn't know who Darwin was.
Wow.
I'm like, how do you not know this? And you go there and it's like, man, I mean, I don't know when the last time your travails have included the Midwest, Mr. D'Angelo, but it's not really it is not the bastion of like open,
I've been to the Midwest many times, and I've visited my cousins hundreds of times, and they've never come to visit me. I actually enjoy the farms and my cousins, but this whole situation has brought up this, and then I'm realizing that my uncle was a homophobic, racist asshole, and he's dead now. But I was like, oh right, he kind of hated me. Well, it is what it is. but at the same time, my whole point and of what I was saying, and I may not have gotten across, is that it seems that the newer generations, the fresher people coming on the planet, your kids being one, and my nephews and nieces, they're trying to change that, and hopefully they will. That this is no longer a respectful way to treat people. To say that the black fella that lives down the street, or the tranny, as you said, by the way, I did that with my ex-boyfriend because he had a trans person living in his house. I was like, is she a tranny? He's like, she's not a she, she's a they, and she's not a tranny, dude. She's a trans. So I made the same mistake.
Okay, well, thank you, because I was not trying to be. Of course, I wasn't trying to be offensive, but it was just like, but these things change. It's just like we went from colored to Negro to, and then all of shit changes. And yeah. So, I
mean, and hopefully for the better. I mean, that's the whole point. So Eric, I think that I'm feeling that the end of our suite is coming now. So even though like the last 30 minutes was fucking brilliant, or 40 minutes or whatever it was. Again, if you have anything, I
don't know how much, man. Just go through and edit as much as
I will. Like, and if I don't like the record, I'm going to make you come back in the studio for free and do it again. But anyway, is there anything that as I asked you during our break, is there anything you want to say to the world other than all the most amazing, beautiful things that you said and all the wisdom? If there's anything.
Oh, man, I just, look, I'm looking forward to what this new normal will, we've talked about in various things, like musically. I mean, we didn't really talk about like how are we going to survive in this new paradigm that's coming about, and we don't know what it's going to be. But I am looking forward to it because I think that there are like some really good things going on, and I think that this is one of the things that amongst a few things that have solidified my liking this world, like getting to hang out with my man Andrew for the afternoon and nice. Talk about some shit. And it's like, damn, there's people on this planet that I actually like and that are cool, shit. Right. We have memories and shit, and we can talk about it's like, so man, that's it.
The best part is we can talk about our memories, but not really talk about all the memories.
It's for the memoirs, like, like afterwards. Afterwards, it's like, oh, that's what we went back and referenced their podcast.
I can't really tell you everything here, man, but the shit was really fucking fun. But it's like
great. It was great.
I love you.
It was great. That's why I think we need to do it like 4 ways. We need to get, man, if you could do a podcast with all of us.
A 4-way?
And then let's see, 4-way, how we could like dance that dance off and see how that goes. That would be.
I to be honest.
At the very least,
it'd be what?
No, funny shit.
I know. To be honest, there could be nothing we do that wouldn't help people understand and see us in a better light, because I understand that my gig as like a pseudo David Letterman is just to like bring out this amazing joy and beauty in my friends, and like if I have to be like some kind of like sponge or connector, I like to call myself a connector, then I'm cool, because this world is desperate for creation. And, you, Eric, are one of the most brilliant creators, and Kurt Rosenwinkel and She Waits and everything. It's just, I don't think we don't need to be underground anymore. And that's what I'm attempting to do. I'm attempting to lift things up. I know that might sound flighty, and might sound arrogant, but it's not. Hey, I just want to just shine a light in this beautiful room of like these people that are doing really amazing stuff. And I'm like, let's do it. And so, let's all get on camera and, talk about how much fun we had. And also let's talk about how much fun we didn't have. Why not?
Yeah. No, cool.
Talk about Nashit and Kurt arguing about the form of a fucking song.
My God.
Like, who the fuck cares?
Gives a fuck. but it went like, no, Bubba. It's like, yo, really?
And then Kurt saying that you and Nashit played better when I was soloing than when he was soloing. It's like, what? I mean, like, what does that even mean? Like Kurt denies that now, but I'm like, you actually said that to me. And
man, it would be good. It would be good to like, we should do that. We should just get together just on some fun shit. Like you saying, man, it could never be released unless everybody agrees to it.
Right.
But just to have that, man, I would love to hang out with y'all, man. And that was a band that actually I'm not gonna say that, it's not like the potential of it, but it was just really, really special, man. I've run across some people that were at the Vanguard gigs that have been like, yo, man, what happened to that shit? That shit was amazing,
Yeah, I remember asking Kurt after, I don't know, it was like the third night at the Village Vanguard, and I don't know if you remember, we were doing that tune at the end, that crispy tune, Retrogression, and you played this solo, and we got this standing ovation. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
Right. And I started.
It was undoubtedly because of my solo.
Dude, I started screaming over your solo, and Kurt gave me the basically the hook, like, you know, Eric's
The hook is like,
and we got this standing ovation, and we were in the kitchen, right backstage, which is backstage
Right.
for the Vanguard, which is basically the kitchen. And if people want to visualize it, it really is just a kitchen. And
it's a kitchen. You can, yeah.
And Kurt was like, "Why the fuck were you playing, you know, over, you know, Eric's?" Well, he said Revis's solo, and I was like, "I don't know. I was just enjoying myself." And then I said, "Have you ever gotten a standing ovation at the Vanguard?" And he's like, "Nope." I said, "Well, you did tonight because of that." You don't remember that?
I do remember that. Actually sounds familiar. I heard that when you said,
You
have you ever
fucking
gotten
killed it. And I tried to join on bass clarinet because I was like,
I was good with it.
Yeah,
I
you
was
were just
good.
like fucking, yeah, you were strong, gorilla, black man, or whatever the fuck. And you were like just killing it. And I was like, pushing up my glasses, like, I want to join that black man on that solo. And so I started playing, and Kurt's like,
Did I say anything about the shit?
No,
That would have been cool with me.
No, you were like totally fine, but Kurt's like, Andrew, you know, I mean, whatever his
Right.
version of like stop playing.
Right,
And then he's yelling at me in the kitchen backstage at the Vanguard
That was a funny,
like,
man,
you
that
don't
was a
solo
great-
when Eric Revis is soloing. But I was like, I just was having fun. But you absolutely, I know we can't even say killed it anymore. You knocked it out of the park. I don't know what term to use these days. But man. And then
my
everybody in the Vanguard, including Lorraine, the owner, stood up and was like, that was fucking amazing. And then I asked Kurt, have you ever had a standing ovation? He's like, nope. No, I mean, at the Vanguard, which is a tough audience,
Right.
by the way, for a standing ovation.
Tough audience, period. Yeah.
Right.
Vanguard,
And so
kinda
I was like,
yeah.
great band. Anyway, maybe if you sleep on it, you'll remember, or if you want to text Kurt and say,
I do. I did.
did that really happen?
Right.
All right.
my friend.
All right, brother. Thank you, Eric Revis, for being here, and we'll talk to you later, man, and have a good night. I appreciate it.
Andrew D'Angelo, thank you, man.
All right. Peace. Bye.
Talk soon.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Constant Constance. Tune in every week for new conversations. And if you want even more, check out Andrew's Patreon for more exclusive content and additional conversations. Hosted and produced by Andrew D'Angelo. Edited and mixed by Lucy Little. Original music by Andrew D'Angelo and Maximilian Moore D'Angelo. Intro is Henrietta Weeks. Thanks so much. See you next time.
You
Sounded
fucking,
beautiful.
yeah, you fucking rocked it. Like
You
she
killed
doesn't,
it.
she doesn't know she says podcast, right? Like she doesn't even